I was able to successfully get that to 100, per month in ad spend. There's nothing worse for an ad account or an ad in specific to have somebody hide your ad. If you can make your ad not look like an ad
Mhm.
and get that engagement, you're you're gonna win, right? It's simple.
Hey guys, and welcome to today's podcast. So today we have a very special guest. Him and I have a lot of private talks about ads, funnels, scaling offers, and today you get to be a fly on the wall on these talks. So without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. Mark Laurin. A killer when it comes to CRO with paid ads, scaling ads, getting clients ads to to crack the code and work for them, and of course to ad tracking. So Mark, how's it going?
Going good, Kim. Thanks for the intro.
So Mark, let's get into some of the juicy stuff. So in the last 12 months, what's been like your best client ad campaign that you've launched and scaled and ran? Like what's been the numbers, like the return on ad spend, like the ROI, and what's one thing that you kind of took away from that campaign? Like one secret to take away from it or learn lesson to take away from
Yeah, the one that I like the most,
it.
because for me, growth is the ultimate goal of any business, right?
Right.
So I
Money.
helped one client, yeah, money, right? And this particular client, like to be clear, it's e-com space and it's subscription based products. They don't just have one product, they're expanding their product options. And
Mhm.
so the when I started taking over their ad account, they had like one ad that was like their their Bible. They had been running this ad for a long time, but whenever they tried to scale it, they couldn't ever get it to scale, right? So
Mhm.
they were probably around, I think, 40,000 in ad spend a month, 30 or 40,000 in ad spend a month on
Mhm.
Facebook, and and about $1 million in annual revenue. So I came in, they wanted it to grow, obviously. And
Mhm.
so I was able to successfully get that to 100, per month in ad spend. Um,
Wow.
we'll go into that. And an annual revenue of about 3 million. So that's like the biggest growth. And I think for me, it's volume of revenue.
Right.
That's in a year. And again, I know the LTV of their clients is huge because once they start using their products, they just keep using it over and over and over. Their initial churn is reasonable for the industry, but the long-term churn is really, really tiny. So once they get the clients on there, the LTV is great. So the interesting thing is, as we were like, the proportion of growth in the ad spend
Mhm.
is not um, is not uh, ratioed to the increase in revenue,
Mhm.
which is pretty common, right? As we scale, usually our CPA, the cost to get the client goes up, right? And that
Mhm.
was ultimately their problem. Is every time they tried to scale, their CPA went up too high,
Mhm.
that they were losing money with every initial order, right? And so it was a cash flow nightmare. Um, so the biggest successes and learnings from that account was they had one ad that had, every single time we tried to put a challenger against it, Facebook algorithm just put all of the budget to that ad, right?
Mhm.
And so the what we found is that we had to go out and find new audiences.
Mhm.
At the time, the lookalikes in this account were not working for whatever reason. They weren't working. Going out to new interest groups. So they had lost a bunch of interest groups. So then it was going and running tests to
Mhm.
find new interest targeting that not related whatsoever, just thinking outside the box and going after demographics of their avatar. Like, what types of things would their people be into,
Mhm.
um, based on their demographics, right? And doing that combined with going back and doing that creative testing and trying to find different imaging and or different messaging that would try to draw in different people. So fundamentally, it was isolate that one ad that Facebook loved, and make force Facebook to spend money on new creative. Once it got to a level that it was the new creative that we got was working, then
Mhm.
then find out what scaled in that account. I think one of the challenges I see is people put a lot of effort into creating messaging, to creating images for their ads, videos for their ads, and they get married to them. Almost becomes emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the claims to fame for me, I've always been told this, it's that analytical mind I have. I lack emotion, right? So even though we put work into an ad, into a video, into creative, to me, at the end of the day, if the data tells me it doesn't work, no problem. Let's go find something else that does work. And I think that's the biggest learnings that I've had. The more, and when you have that mindset, it doesn't matter what the platforms do. The algorithms can change, the platforms can change, just as long as you're rapidly testing. And even in the good times, when what you have is working, keep testing new stuff, because it's inevitable that at some point what is working won't work anymore. We just don't know when. So,
Mark, well said. So, Mark, for those again watching, and they've heard this, and they're like, "Okay, Mark, how do I test? Like, Mark, what's like your 3-step sequence to testing for a beginner, like who's never really ran tests to like your level?"
yeah. So I think the biggest thing there is accepting that a portion of your ad spend
Yeah.
has to continually always be spent on testing. And I find that's the biggest hurdle for most clients is how much do I have to spend to test? And then once you spend that, and we keep trying to spend it, like, oh, wait a minute, why are we still testing? Right. So for
Right.
me, the biggest thing with and we've talked about this a couple of times, like that the concept of vanity metrics. Any, fundamentally, if you're just starting
Mhm.
funnel, you're just building an ad, you're just building out your funnel, you're trying to get it to work, you're at the very early stage and you're in, selling that offer, whatever it
Yeah.
is, product or service. Then yes, the metrics matter because it's the only signal you have. But once you get to an offer that is selling, people are buying it, fundamentally there, the only thing that matters is what is the cost to acquire the customer and what is the LTV of the customer, right?
Mhm.
Those are the only two metrics. Everything else is just like a gauge on your car, and it gives you indication of your temperature, of your oil pressure. But
Mhm.
fundamentally, if those are within a range, we're good to go, right? As long as the key metrics, which again, CPA for whatever the acquire is it a lead, is it a schedule, is it a purchase, fundamentally, and then long-term value, what is your overall customer revenue lifetime, all of those other metrics. So if I think about testing, my thing is it depends on where we are. What stage are we at in our business? Are we just starting an offer?
Mhm.
Then the testing methodology is different than if I'm at scale and trying to scale an offer. And I think that's one of the fundamental challenges I have with a lot of the gurus out there. They never associate their methodology with a stage. I found very few that do that. And so I think for me, it's, I don't know how in depth you want to go in the testing, like actual how and the steps. But
Like, what's the first thing that like you would test?
so for me, I like to really dive in. If I have a new customer come to me, I always go to square one, regardless of what they've done,
Right.
right? And I go, my first thing is really, I've always early on in my learning marketing in today's world,
Mhm.
um, it was to what people tell you versus how they act are two very different things. And so the test that we both use is like put out a test. I like to think of it as an online focus group. So we put together a test, we isolate the variables, um, run the test, very small data. We know it's not statistically significant, but that's okay. It's just giving a signal.
Mhm.
Um, and we know unilaterally that if that test comes back and it meets our minimum requirements to be, a positive signal for our marketing, then we carry forward with it, right? So first thing I like to do is test the pain. And it's not the pain that necessarily that people are talking about that always wins. We go and do our research, whether it's on Reddit, whether it's in Facebook groups, chat forums, different platforms like School or what have you. And we do our research. We can even use AI, right? We can go and see what AI gives us as ideas.
Right.
But when we get those ideas, we put them in front of people to see if they actually engage with it. So doing that, we'll test pains. I'll test specific benefits that people want, and then I'll test the challenges that they have. Then what I do is whichever ones are the winners, I then mix and match the permutations of those to find out which combinations give me the most engagement on that messaging. Once I get that, now I know how to formulate my offer, right?
So Mark, you're saying that you don't take the client's word for face value, like you test the actual copy of the market, see what they want, and then create a winning offer from that data. Is that right?
Exactly. Gotcha. Yeah. Again, not what the client tells you, and not even what their avatar is telling you online. It's funny. It's like I've never done NLP, right? I've never done it, but I've heard a lot of marketers, if they start thinking that way, and using that in their marketing, they can get some really cool results, right? And I think that's what it is. It's like psychologically, what we say versus things we actually engage with are sometimes, not always, but sometimes very different things. So,
True.
And like the reality is, unless you have that golden moment where your ad is in front of that person who has that exact pain, they need that benefit, and they need to overcome that challenge, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to pull the trigger right then and there, right? I think 4 years ago when I got into marketing heavy, the number that was touted was like 7 times. Somebody had to see your marketing 7 times before they were ready to buy. Right. What I hear today is that number is north of 25. So
31.
31, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like, and it's funny because even today, I was actually just thinking about this yesterday. Like, I have an ad account that I'm running right now, and it's the challenge that I used to always use this whack-a-mole strategy. Like, okay, I'm going to run an ad, and I know what my CPA is. I'm going to let it run 2 or 3x CPA. If it doesn't bring me the result I want, I kill it and I relaunch, and I just keep doing that. And the concept that I had there was like, it's like fishing. It's like fishing. Every time you drop out an ad, you're casting your fishing line, and you see if your hook, if that hole in the water, that little spot, has anybody to bite. And if it doesn't, then you bring your line in and you recast it to a different pool of people. But the challenge is when we need to be in front of somebody 31 times, then that strategy doesn't work, right?
True.
And unless you have the data to tell you, like, okay, this person bought, how many times did they see my ad, right? How many times was it put in front of them? And the problem is the platforms don't want to tell you that. And, so there we have to get creative. And how can we get an indication of, did that person see our ad once, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times? And the more that we can dial into that, the better. So like what I've been seeing is top of funnel, my metrics don't look good at all, but my retargeting looks amazing, right? It's just blowing out of the water. So then it becomes really looking at those gauges and tweaking. Okay, do I put more budget top of funnel? Do I put more budget middle of funnel? Right? What is that sweet spot that brings me the best average CPA, right? And that's the mindset I have more now. And I find that's part that emotionally a lot of entrepreneurs or media buyers struggle with, because they look at a specific ad and they're like, this thing's costing me crazy money. It isn't bringing me results based on what I think the data is telling me. And I think there it's like it's an interpretation challenge. Um, so, and it's interesting because even with that being said, this is where I see the biggest issue, because depending on where you are in terms of scale, this really matters, right? Um, Facebook, as an example, will tell you our AI is amazing. Just, give me a pool of your ads, let me make all the decisions, and just give me crazy budget, right? Just give me all your
Right.
money. Zucks wants your bucks, right?
Right.
But that can work, but in certain scenarios, right? The new entrepreneur, the new media buyer starting with a new offer, if you try that, it won't work. It rarely will work unless you've got a fire offer, that, as you point out, something like crazy new, crazy hot that, everybody wants regardless of the offer. Like, I just got to have it, right?
Right.
Which are few and far between. Um, at the end of the day, I think this is where I see the biggest learnings that I've had. Depending on where a client is in their stage of an offer, the strategies that you use varies very dramatically. So,
That's true.
yeah.
So, Mark, you mentioned creativity, right? Doing all that.
Mhm.
And as marketers, right, it's on us to be creative and find like new ways to solve old problems. And I actually want to ask you, Mark, like what's been like some of like your like in-house like creative solutions to like your clients' problems for automations or tracking
Um, for the tracking
or automations?
or automations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, again, I have to say it depends on where you are in your um where you are in your scale, right? So what I tend to do is the KISS principle, keep it super simple. Um, right. And so initially it legit is just like, do I have the ability from whatever my platform is to literally just get as much data out when I get when I get an opt-in, when I get a purchase, when I get a schedule to a webinar,
Mhm.
get that data into a spreadsheet. Because from that spreadsheet, I can do a ton of things, right? So for me, it's all of the different platforms that I'm using in my tech stack. Just get
Mhm.
that data out of the tech stack into something that I can manipulate, I can slice and dice in a spreadsheet,
Mhm.
and look at what the data is telling me, and from that make the decisions, right?
What
Then
data?
so typically when I'm running ads, I'm putting identifiers at the ad level. So it'll be what campaign was it from? Again, it depends on what structure you're using in your ad accounts, but what
Mhm.
campaign you're using, what ad set you're using, what ad you're using, potentially the placement.
Mhm.
Um, you know, we can use UTM parameters or URL parameters to track all that, and then again, depending on your platform, there's different ways to get that data out and into a spreadsheet. And so even there, the URL, if I'm doing like A/B testing or split testing on landing pages, I want to track which landing page brought me that that let's just call it that opt-in, right, or that
Right.
purchase. Um, and then I look at that to make decisions, right? As and literally like early stages, um, I'll look at every single transaction and make sure that I know exactly what brought me that result. What was the messaging? What was the image? What was the audience that brought me that sale, for example. And then as we get to scale, then it's okay, what tool can I use to consolidate, right? And so is it simple to just run, build SQ SQL queries inside of, the spreadsheet and use that.
Right.
At what stage does that become too cumbersome? And then you got to go to something that's an external tool, whether
Airtable.
it's yeah, Airtable, whether it's BigQuery
Mm-hmm.
and using like, Looker, Google Looker um or Microsoft, you know, what's theirs called, not too many clients that use it, but um or Microsoft. Yeah, the Microsoft has another BigQuery reporter too. Or going to something like Wicked Reports, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm finding is some of these platforms are actually building in better dashboards,
Mm-hmm.
better and better ones that you can actually customize, and they're going out, and we can start to simplify that tech stack, right? I think it's always that struggle I find right now too, is a lot of clients, they want to, when they're starting out an offer, they don't know if it's going to work. They're hoping
Right.
it does. They're potentially doing it as their side hustle, right? So they're controlling their costs, and their tech stack gets messy, right? And what I've learned is that whenever we can get our tech stack to be within one platform,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to win. That's always beneficial. So, at what point do I advise clients, hey, your tech stack is hurting you, you're losing too much data, um, and then you get to a point where it's costing you too much money because you've Frankensteined all these different tech pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and there's, at the end of the day, there's a million different products. Hyros is really good for tracking some things, like Metrics is good for tracking some other things. Good old
Mm-hmm.
Google and using, webhooks also sometimes works too. So, um, fundamentally though, I always go back to like the more data that we can get back to the platforms,
Yeah.
even if the sale didn't come from the platform. So if we're going to like a local business that has people that come in and buy things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it's a restaurant, if it's a chiropractor's office or a doctor's office, right? A dentist, for example. Even the people who don't come from an ad, if we can
Mm-hmm.
get that data of who's buying our products and services and we can feed that into the algorithms, then that's when they really work for you. We give them a boatload of data about who's buying our things, and then they can go and find more people that look like those people, right? That's
Yep.
what I find is really the crutch of it all right now, is making sure that we get the data back to the platforms so that the platforms can their AI is getting really good. It really is, but we have to have our digital plumbing, that's my reference for it, our digital plumbing, our tech stack
Mm-hmm.
set up properly to make sure that we're feeding as clean and as much data back to the different platforms about who's buying our stuff.
So, Mark, first off, how do you get the data from the ad platform to your spreadsheets and then back to the platform? Like, how do you do that?
So usually, so again, when we put code in at the ad level
Yeah.
as URL parameters, make sure that as we work our way through the funnel, we don't lose that data. And again, depending on our tech stack, there's different ways that we have to do that.
So, how does the spreadsheet pull like that the data from the URL?
It's always a webhook. So
Mm-hmm.
the platforms can read that data, all of them,
Yeah.
and then, again, depends on the platform, but whenever we get that action, is it an opt-in or a registration, a purchase,
Mm-hmm.
we can track that data, right? And so in our platform. So then again, depends on different platforms. We can either use tools like natively, some of them have webhooks built in natively, and it
Mm-hmm.
can spit it out to a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet for you. Some of them you've got to go and use Zapier and get that done. Some of the platforms have their version of a Zapier built in, right? And so that's how we get that data back out. In our own businesses, we've got a tool. Is it a CRM? Is it a POS system? Whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, in our local business, how do we get the email. Everything is predicated on email. So in everything we do as a local business, whether it's get a survey from the customer, whether it's, like there's a million ways that local businesses can get emails. And in some niches, it's easier than others. For sure, your chiropractors, your dentists, your eye doctors, they're all getting your email. They're promoting, sending you. I don't know if, like, one thing I was always curious about is, why is Home Depot always trying to get to email me my receipt? Well, guess what? They want my email so that whatever I buy when I'm in store, they can then spit that out to Google and to Facebook and all the different platforms to say, like, this guy bought these things, right? And then they scrub my data, right? So again, it's the same. To get that data back into Facebook, it's the same thing. It's what is the email? And again, we try to get the personal email. We hope it's the one that matches what we're using in Facebook, or our clients are using in Facebook. And then for the most part, it doesn't matter what they bought. It's more that they were a customer of yours. If you can, grab the total purchase value of their order, and we can do value-based lists. And when we pull that in as a customer list into our ad platform.
So Mark, you're saying get your offline, customer list or your clients list, go to their ad account, and then create a custom audience, customer list, and add in like that list of their names, emails, their phone numbers, and what they bought to Facebook. Correct?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, if depending on the system, initially, I want to get a T-shirt that says, like, hashtag it's a test, right? So
Yeah.
initially, with every new client, that's the first thing I do. Give me a list of all your customers, and we'll pull it into Facebook. And then off that list, let's say we want to retarget them. We want to put an ad in front of them, remind them to come to our restaurant, remind them that they should be thinking about their teeth or their back or their health, depending on what the offer is. And try to get them back in. But then we can also start to build lookalike audiences off of, and see, like, hey, maybe a lookalike audience off of people who spent X amount of money works, right? And I even have gone so far with some clients to actually parse the data and say, like, okay, here's a list of people who bought offer A. And that's one list that I'll import into Facebook and then run it as a test. Lookalikes, different percentage lookalikes. Here's a list of people that bought B. Here's a list of people who bought A and B, right? And so I'll take that data and I'll test it as different audiences inside of Facebook.
What do I do, right? If, again, the winning ad from one client account is no longer the winning ad across other accounts, or even, again, in that same client account. So winning ad is no longer winning for either the same account or other clients. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have this roofers is legit where this problem exists. You can run ads for roofing in Florida, and those ads 100% will not work in Chicago.
Okay.
100%.
So what do I do?
Yeah, so this again comes back to the testing methodology, right? It's, as long as you have a very agile mentality and mindset, it's not a problem, right? It's okay. What is it about the ad that's not resonating in Chicago that does resonate in Florida, right? And if we look at roofing, for example, again, I got some experience in this space, but the weather's different, right? And so the reasons, the challenges, even the benefits, like the pain points, it's all different. And that's the problem. You're marketing the exact same thing, but the location of the people you're marketing to is different, right? And so there, as long as we've got a robust system to be able to say, okay, well, the pains, the benefits, the challenges are different in Chicago. Okay, I have a process to go and find the ones that resonate with people in Chicago. Okay, go through your process, right? Do that. And when you do that, 100% it works. So,
There we go.
yeah, I think there it always comes back to your process. As long as you have a process for finding what works,
Mhm.
um, and not being emotional about it. The platforms today are social based. And what I find is the best ads that work initially and
Mhm.
survive the longest are the ads that don't look like ads.
Yes.
So as the more we can play with the platforms that we're using, make our ads not look like ads, make them look like just social posts, organic posts,
TikTok videos.
talk videos, right? Just again, we know it's going to take 31 times for the person to see your thing, right?
Mhm.
So just nurture them, give them a little bit of knowledge, um, that brand awareness thing. But again, the problem is I legit just brought a new client on this week, and I initially in my discussions with him, he's got a very specific avatar, and he has a very specific I don't want this avatar, right?
Mhm.
Um, so in
Love
that,
those clients.
yeah, and I was like, man, this is going to be a tough one. And so right out of the gate, I was like, you 100% are brand awareness. Like you're not going to be able to do a one-to-one ratio of like this ad brought me this, $100,000 order. It ain't going to work
Mhm.
that way. All we can do is just raise your brand and make you top of mind so that when that business has the need,
Mhm.
hey, I know who to call, right? I've seen their content for the last year. Like, I'm gonna go after that. As I got into it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there is a way that, for a certain offer he has, we can do some, this ad brought me this person, and that's for a very specific offer, and we'll do that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think the more we make ads not look like ads, make them organic, um, then I find they work better. And then as we bring the person through the stages of awareness, then we can get more direct in our marketing and get more direct response in our marketing. Like, it's always that I call it the dog whistle, like, hey, if you're this person with this problem, I've got your solution, right?
Right.
um, that works when that person is,
They're aware.
product, yeah, they're aware and potentially even product aware, right?
Mhm.
But the person who's not even problem aware, that advertising doesn't work. And in fact, I this is the one thing that it's a mindset thing. Like we also have to take care that our ads um, are not annoying, right? The
Mm.
the what's the term? The stabbing to the heart, like for a vampire, like the stake to the heart to
Mhm.
kill an ad is if you get too many people that hide it or say like, don't show me more of these ads, right? So there was a stage where I'll call it the bro marketers, the gurus,
Mhm.
were saying, hey, make your ads look really ugly, make them like annoying, like the the stage where like video ads would just auto play and
Right.
loud like initial sounds to garner attention, images that jumped out at you or that were using funky filters, right?
Or clickbait.
Or clickbait, exactly. And very quickly the platforms are like, wait a minute, we're going to give our users a way to get rid of these annoying ads, these annoying
Mhm.
posts. And there's nothing worse for an ad account or an ad in specific to have somebody hide your ad. That's like a slap on the wrist from the platform. And if you get too many of those, your CPMs are going to go up like crazy. And your ads, there's a bunch of people I've seen talking lately on social media that they're struggling with. Facebook's not even delivering their ads. And they're like, oh, it's a Facebook glitch. It's a glitch. It's a glitch. I in the instances where I've jumped on a call with somebody to look at their ads,
Mhm.
it's not a glitch. Um, their ads are ugly. Their ads are not made for the platform. They're not social posts. They are bold, in your face, annoying ads. Um, you know, I always relate it back to as a kid growing up, you had no way to fast forward between through a commercial. You were forced to watch the commercials, right? And for most of us, they did that. They would bump up the volume on the commercial. And I know for me, I was muted it. I didn't want to listen to the commercial. It annoyed me, right? And how many of us still watch like cable TV where you have to watch all these ads? Even all the platforms like YouTube, you can pay not to see ads,
Or use
right?
ad blockers.
Ad blockers, yeah, right. Yeah, and so that's the thing, right? If the platforms recognize that there's sometimes people don't want ads, and I think that's like the ninja hack in today's um, media buying is if you can make your ad not look like an ad and get that engagement, you're you're gonna win, right? It's simple. Um, the secret is how do we not go broke trying to find the formula, the combination of creative, written creative, the copy, as well as the imagery or video creative that in combination doesn't annoy people, gets people engaged with our offers, and gets them bought. Like that's the secret. That's the golden goose.
Mark, with all that said, let's say we take like that strategy and create a new ad for like, a roofer in another state.
Yeah.
How can I tell early in like the data if the ad is going to scale and make a lot of money for my client, right? And then, of course, me too, by proxy, or be a losing ad, kind of fail. Client fires me, right? I'm blacklisted in the industry. Like, what are like those early signs of success or failure for ads?
Yeah. So for me, it's early on trying to dial in what is that CPA for whatever the action is, right?
Again,
And
CPA meaning like what again?
so if we're at like the cost per lead,
Gotcha.
if we're just trying to get like enter your information to get a quote.
Right.
If it's book a call, like, how much does it cost to get somebody to book a call? If it's to
Mhm.
buy something, say we're an ecom, how much or course creator, how much does it cost to get somebody to buy my thing, right?
Mhm.
So I think um start off first and foremost, we got to go out at I always go out at like one CPA or whatever I think the CPA should be. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see if I go 2x or 3x, do I actually get somebody doing what I want them to do, whether it's opt in, book a call, or buy.
So
If
you're
I
saying
get it,
that
sorry.
So we're saying that if my CPA is like, or my ideal CPA is like $10 per lead, I should
Yeah.
spend 20 to $30 before I say, okay, this is losing. Let's pause this garbage. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
okay?
Typically, that's what I'm doing, right?
Gotcha.
And when I'm testing, the other part is when I'm testing creative,
Mhm.
um, I will, um, I'll go over, and it depends on the strategy, but if I'm testing creative, I'll take my CPMs for that offer, like whatever the average has been in that ad account, and I'll divide that out over two. So I'll give it 2 days to run to 1,000 impressions
Mhm.
to see what the data looks like. So if we talk like early signals, right?
Mhm.
As I'm building out an ad, I'm running it for 1,000 impressions, and then I'm looking at link clicks and clicks all. What is the engagement I'm getting on that ad, right?
Mhm.
From there, once I get a winner there, then I progress it to what my goal is. Whether it's lead gen, getting that email, getting the call booked, or getting a
Mhm.
purchase. Then I'm going out at 1 to 2x of CPA per day. At a minimum, I'm letting that run, the 2 or 3 days,
Mhm.
right? If that works, then we have to go to scale because we'll never know if the offer will work at scale
Mhm.
unless we test it at the point where the platform needs enough data to be able to have its AI make good decisions, right?
Mhm.
We look at Facebook, that's basically seven actions a day. So if it's opt-ins, we need 7 emails a day. If
Mhm.
it's book a call, we need 7 book calls. If it's purchase, we need 7 purchases. So that's the next stage. If at that's at an ad spend of 7x the CPA. If it works there, that's great signal that we have a scalable offer. And then from there, you know, there's the one thing I've been seeing is like in some accounts, this is a lesson I've had in a couple, you know, there's, you hear some of these big media buyers with, you know, thousands of spend a day, 10,000 a day, 80,000 a day, 100,000 a day. Well,
Keyword is spend, not profit. We're going.
right, exactly. But the thing is like you can't go out and like I have some ad accounts. If I go out above $200 in ad spend, it just won't work. I know it won't work, right? Regardless of what the CPA is. And what I've been finding more and more is we have to on something we're trying to get into scale, we have to always start small, and we have to go and increase every day, increase every day, increase every day. So bump it up 20%, 25% every day.
Bump what up?
The ad spend.
Gotcha.
So like, let's just say my CPA was $50. I could go out at $100, probably would work to get initial data. But I couldn't go out at 250, 350 right out of the gate and expect it to work. I would need to take that ad set that I have at $100 a day and just slowly bump it up 20%, 20%, 20%, 20% until I got it to, you know, that 7x CPA. So, and it's a painful process. So when we talk about getting quick wins for our clients, sometimes, you know, it's tricky, but we just have to, you know, and there's the times where once you hit that, you know, 50 transactions a week, 7 purchases a day or 7 events a day, it will start to get better because the AI has more data to make better decisions. But you will reach a point where it goes back to costing you more. Your CPA will start to increase. So it'll come down and then it goes back up, right? So, and again, there it's just keeping an eye on it and making sure that that metric, and today might be a really good day, tomorrow might be terrible. Why? All the reasons. Could be political, could be holiday based, could be, you know, the sun, it's a full moon. You know, there's a million different reasons. And I think the thing is I've learned to never make rash decisions. That whack-a-mole strategy I don't find works in too many accounts anymore. What works better is, you know, the long, steady, slow game. And look at trending on, I always do, you know, what did it do yesterday? What's it doing today? What's it done for 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 28 days?
That's it.
And again, coming back to the data, looking at all of that data when we're making our decisions. Yeah, I've had clients that, like, you know, those days that Facebook has a glitch or whatever, and they just panic, turn it all off. And I'm like, well, if you turn it all off, you've got no more business. Right? Like, there's very few business models where, you know, you can just sit and live with your existing clientele, right? For the most part, every business needs new leads, new people buying, and the only way to do that is advertising. So that's been the steady state all the way back to, you know, the original days of direct response marketing, right? You just always got to be marketing because you need new blood in your funnels. So
it's true. Now, Mark, we've used the buzzword AI a lot on this podcast episode. So what are like your favorite AI tools for ads?
Yeah. So I've typically used, you know, OpenAI quite a bit. And the challenge is the data is a little bit dated. You know, we can use GPT-4. It's a little bit better. I've been toying around a lot with Gemini, which is Google's solution.
Okay.
It's Google's AI. They rebranded it. So,
and how do you use this stuff, by the way?
So for the most part, I have I'll be very blunt. I've tried to use AI to create ads.
Yeah.
And what I have consistently found is it is great at making ads, direct response ads
Mm-hmm.
that are legit, call out your avatar, call out their problems, sell your solution.
Mm-hmm.
But when I test those, they don't work.
I've seen similar things.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it
work. Yeah.
doesn't work. So what I tend to do is with AI, I use it as my creative whiteboard, if you will. So it's my brainstorming tool. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll go in there and I'll use it to, ask it, what are the pain points of this avatar?
Mm-hmm.
Who is my avatar? Help me define the avatar. Um, even to go so far as to ask it, what interest targeting should I use on the platform?
Oh, it's a good one.
What type of scripts should I use? Right. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but again, what I've seen is you can tell an ad that's been written by AI, right?
Real
It's
fast.
very fast, right? It's easy to tell. So I use it for idea generation. I use it to develop, a list of things to test faster.
Mm-hmm.
And again, because we have a testing methodology that is relatively fast to get the
Mm-hmm.
data, to get the results and cheap relative, um, you know, the 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 better, the more information you have, the more ideas you have to test, the quicker you're going to get to the winning ad formula that works for you, right?
That's it.
So that's typically what I use it for. The other thing, like clients that have VSLs or clients that have webinars,
Yeah.
podcasts, I'll take those and I've started to toy with dropping them into AI tools that then parse out snippets of that we can
Mm-hmm.
then go and use in stories and reels, right?
Ah.
Again, um, we have a testing methodology for using it, right? So we can go and we can rapidly test these things and see, does it work, right? So it's a pretty cool little test I'm running now.
Mhm.
And again, it nurtures it because you're giving, like, the whole nature of reels, the platforms are trying, whether it's YouTube or whether it's Facebook, they're trying
Mhm.
to compete with TikTok, right? They saw the success of TikTok, um, and they've tried really hard. So sometimes your CPMs in those placements are like stupid cheap, right? So why don't I create some content, make it very specific to the placement, and
Mhm.
only put this type of content, this short form content on, and it builds that curiosity. It
Mhm.
gets people thinking, hey, that's interesting. I want to hear more. They follow the CTA, whether that's going to see the full video or the full offer, right? The full VSL.
Mhm.
Um, and it starts to build that you're giving some love to the platforms because you're actually putting ads in a format that they're trying to promote, so you get
Mhm.
better pricing, it's cheaper. You're getting new eyes. Like, I know there's people who only look at short form video, like they don't look at anything long form, they don't
Mhm.
browse Facebook, they don't look at Instagram, but they'll go through reels and what on whatever, like TikTok, right?
Right.
Why the platform works so well, right? So yeah, that's one really cool AI tool. And then the other one that I'm toying with lately is on that customer service side, right? So in your platforms, how do we use how do we nurture that client using AI, right? Um, as much as we all like, I've actually had some clients where I got them too much success, and because all of their customer service was manual,
Mhm.
let's just say it was a coaching program, because it was their coaching program grew too fast, and they actually started to have customer service issues because whether
Really?
they were personally getting stressed out, they were,
Yeah.
you know they just the clients were getting angry because they couldn't get support, right, that they were promised when they bought the offer.
Mhm.
There is another area where I'm starting to use with a few clients. How do we get AI to help with the customer service. Maybe there's, and so train the AI with our processes, train the AI with past customer service issues, and use that as your first line of defense, right? People today, I think this is kind of like when, if we think of like phones, right? People, when call centers and like listening to like those automated menus, when they first came out, everybody hated them, right? And I think AI chatbots was exactly the same thing. When they first came out, everybody hated them. Why? Because it didn't work, right? Um, they were terrible, right? And so there was a video I watched earlier today where it was a prank call, but basically like AI robo dialer calling somebody to sell them an extended warranty on their truck, right? The prank call. But so he would be like, press one if you want to charge your credit card for the extended warranty, press two if you'd like to bypass this, once in a lifetime opportunity. So he's like trying to press two, and then he's like saying, talk to a person, right? And I think that ultimately was the actual experience with AI in the beginning, is it just didn't work, right? So with phone systems, people didn't like the automation because it didn't work. Menus weren't updated, blah, blah, blah. And I think this is the same thing with AI. When AI first came out, it just wasn't that good. I think now, and with our ability to train it unique for our offer, for our avatar, that it's actually getting really good. And many people actually prefer it now because they don't have to get on a phone and talk to people. I think through COVID, there's a whole generation of people that just don't like talking to people. They just want to be able to go online, like
buy groceries, buy stuff,
buy groceries, Google, Dr. Google. I don't want to go to my doctor. I just search Google, and then, then they find all the like extreme scenarios of what it could be. But I think it's the same thing. It's like now, if I can go to a chat bot and I can type in something and I can get the answer, I can get the support that I need right away. Better customer service, right? And so even that helps with scale because, fundamentally anything within your business you can automate. It's just a win as long as it works. That's the fundamental problem, as long as it works. But I think I think today the AI is coming a long way there. So obviously all the platforms are using AI. Even there, Meta, they're trying to force you just to open up all of your settings and just let them figure it out. I have colleagues who are running those big budgets, $100,000 a day ad spend for an offer, big brand, and it works. It absolutely works. Why does it work? Because you're feeding so much data to the platform, like it's going to get it right. When we're just starting an offer, you're running at like 500,000, even $4,000 a day in ad spend. The AI might not have enough data to work, right? So it's that combination of using the AI, getting ideas from it, use it in your business where it makes sense. And, I think it's just getting better for sure. But I don't think it'll replace marketing because I don't think it's got the ability to really, fundamentally, most of us love buying. We love to buy. We love to shop, right? But we always talk ourselves out of the purchase. We rationalize it for ourselves, right? It's an emotional thing. So I don't think so. When we write ads, we have success when we can overcome those emotions and stop the person from saying no, right? So I don't know that AI will ever get good enough at the emotional piece in our copy, in our ads, to be able to, our sales pages, our VSLs, or webinars. I don't know that it'll ever get good enough to truly understand the emotional aspect of, keeping somebody who's emotionally is saying no for whatever reason, getting them to still buy. I think that's where AI is limited.
tell me about your first client, right? Your very first marketing client that you signed, and like, what's your advice for the young Mark back in the past?
Yeah, for sure it's about mindset for me.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
Define mind. What does that mean? Mindset.
mindset.
Affirmations. Is that like a look in the mirror?
No,
What is that?
I don't. So I think most of us, we tend to live in the fear that um the concept of, gaining that first client, um, it's like, yes, this is great. This is going to be a new, maybe this was my side hustle, and this is the start of me getting rid of my 9 to 5, or
Mhm.
starting a 9 to 5 that I love, right? Maybe this is taking me in a different direction in life and I really want it.
Maybe
And
it means maybe it's me leaving like my big agency, to be solo on my own.
yeah,
Right.
exactly, right. And and I think we get in our heads, again, this is the same thing about buying, right? It's the same mentality. We
Mhm.
start off really wanting to buy, and then we talk ourselves out of it. I think it's the same thing. We say, yeah, we can do this, we can deliver this, we can get the results for this client,
Mhm.
but then the panic sets in, right? And I think for me, the mindset is like, I actually, in what you price, in that initial offer you make, you get one shot
Mhm.
at it. I early on, I signed a client that I didn't think that it would grow. I was just so happy to get the client.
Mhm.
And you potentially make a deal that isn't good for you, right? Maybe
Good short term, poor long term, right?
correct, right? Because
Yeah.
you just want that first win, right? And fundamentally, in the long run, it causes issues,
Mhm.
both in terms of, you know, you got to go back to the client and say, look, for whatever reason, I need to bump up the price.
Mhm.
We need to restructure our deal, blah, 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 right? And you never want to be in a situation like that, right? So I think from a mindset thing, it's like, make sure that you understand what what the offer, like what is required of you, and you
Mhm.
price your services accordingly, and bake into your offer that it's going to grow. Bake in the success. Okay, 6 months out, I get results for this client. Plan to win, plan to succeed, price accordingly, have the confidence that you wouldn't be offering your services to somebody
Mhm.
if you weren't good at it, and or you didn't have the resources around you to help you through the challenges, right?
Right.
So I think that's the one thing, mindset. The other one, I know for me, and this actually goes back long before marketing, but this is just in general. At the end of the day, and you and I have talked about this quite a bit, but
Mhm.
you need mentoring. You don't have all the answers. And I truly do believe you should surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and who are
Mhm.
doing better than you. You can't ever excel if you just keep hanging around the same people. You need to get into new rooms, you need to meet new people, you need to connect with people that are doing what you want to do. And only then will you get results. And I think this is the key. Be clear on right now what I want to do. It will change, but make sure we find mentors that right now, whatever that next little step you want to make, find somebody who's already there, or
Mhm.
maybe a little bit past there. Figure out how do you get them to mentor you, right? Um, again, early in my career, I was not coachable. Absolutely, arrogant, thought I had all the answers, right?
Mhm.
And it really did. It's an ego thing, right? As you get older, for me at least, it was getting older and more experience. It was like, hey, you know what? There might be aspects of somebody I don't like, but there's definitely something I can learn from them. And so, like, always keep that open mindset. Like, this person is going to teach me something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to learn something from them. and stick around long enough and be open-minded enough to actually allow yourself to learn from them. I think that's like to somebody starting out, by far, that's the biggest life lesson, and don't succumb to shiny object syndrome. You can find a course to teach you whatever it is you think you need to know, but be very focused about what's that initial next goal that you want to hit. Go and find people to help you hit that. Pay pay $47 for a course to learn how to hit that. My thing today, I engineer, became an accountant, learned marketing. I legit learn every single day, whether it's reading a book, watching or listening to podcasts, learning, constantly learning. Somebody says they have a new way to do testing on YouTube ads. I'm going to buy the course and I'm going to take it. I don't know if I'm going to learn anything, but I keep an open mind that maybe there'll be something in this course I learn, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. That's where I get my biggest wins, is that open mind and just continually learning.
Continual learning, find mentors. And Mark, I love the plan to succeed. I'm like, oh shit, that's a that's a powerful line, because again, to your point, as beginners, like we don't really see past like the first retainer that they pay us, 2, 3, whatever, $1,000. Like, oh, I make money, yeah. But to your point, plan for 6 to 12 months out of this actually working. Like, what's my my actual my ROI on my time put into this client account gonna look like?
So yeah, plan to succeed. Always make sure that if it's retainer based, always have something in there planning for growth, and make sure it's well understood up front, both by you and by the client. And then when that success happens, it's a win-win for everybody.
A win-win-win for you, the client, for you, the marketer, and of course for the people that buy from the client themselves too, right? So
yeah,
everyone wins.
Yeah, I found that as a marketer, it does help to have a little bit of passion about what you're promoting.
A little bit, a little bit goes a long way. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, and like, you don't have to be an expert in that niche to be able to market for it, but you can at least care about it, right? And the more you care, the more you enjoy doing it, the better your results are going to be, for sure. So,
Mark, well said. So, Mark, where can the people find you?
Yeah. So typically, I'm in the process of branding, but as of right now, marklaurin.agency is the easiest way to reach out to me. Historically, I've grown my business by just networking. I have never had to advertise. I've never had to have a website promoting my services. Knock on wood, that's a good place to be in. But I realize, as you said, you got to have a way for people to contact you. So yeah, marklaurin.agency. They can reach out to me and go from there.
So guys, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway from today's podcast. And if you want more of these, then feel free to like and sub. Talk soon. See you.
Thanks, Kim.